Top of the morning to you, mate. So, yesterday, Spirit showed me a bar being bent, but it was just levitating. There was no person around. And then I'm thinking like, well, what bent that bar? There was nobody there. And then after I said that, then they attached a man to it and then showed the bar being bent a little more. And I found that interesting. So I want to talk about it. I want to decode why Spirit showed me that. Why did they show me a bar being bent in such a way? It was straight. It looked like it was cut off, like sawed off on each end, clean cuts. And then just the bar just being bent. Okay. And then it just made me start thinking about like those muscleman competitions when they be like, what they be doing? Flipping buses and like strapping the bus to like their waist and trying to move it. So running with all that resistance of the tons from the vehicle. That's where my mind went when I first had that vision of the bar being bent, the levitating bar. And it also made me think about energy, right? And then I started thinking about how we have like strength within us that only activates when we have a very strong feeling inside of us. And strength that you didn't know you had, it usually arises when adrenaline is pumping. I almost said adrenaline. When adrenaline is pumping and you're in that fight or flight space in time where you have to make a decision. Okay? And that's also where your passion resides. It's like your passion resides in a space where you're not okay with something, where something is not acceptable to you. So you'll have a deep urgency inside of you to change what bothers you, because you don't even realize why it bothers you so much. You might not even know why you even care so much, but you do. And it's because you're passionate in that space. And when we have passion is like gas for you to go in the direction that's meant to be changed. The passion comes from the depths of one's soul, wanting something better than what already is, or wanting something better than what is. In that space, knowing that there's another option, there's another solution, or there could be various solutions to a problem, but it's about using that passion as fuel to activate the ideas to create malleability, like the bar being bent. The energy creates new energy. Do you see what I mean? Like that energy is like gas, and it literally creates new energy. So the passion is alchemy, because alchemy changes one thing into something else. Okay? There was another point I wanted to hit. Where is it? Hold on, I gotta find it in my archives. That's what passion is for. Passion has purpose. Passion has purpose. So when you're really passionate about something and you really don't like it, it's because it's been placed on you. It's been encoded within you. Because even for myself, I used to be like, why do I care so much about the things that are not right. Why do I care? And I'm looking around at everybody else like, nobody else cares. Why do I care so much? What is this? You know? And it used to frustrate me because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what it was that was inside of me that was like telling me, you know, this is something. And it gave, the feeling that I had inside of me was never, it was never like a doubt that it couldn't be changed. I never doubted the fact. It was a fact for me that what I didn't like, it could be changed. I never like questioned that. It was always just, okay, how can it be done? I always went straight to the how. And that's ever since a little girl. There was things that I saw that I didn't like, and I wanted to change them ever since a little girl. I felt like that. I would look at my surroundings. I remember looking at my surroundings and wondering why things are the way they are, because I know they're not right. And it made me want to reestablish righteousness, if I could just say it in a simple term, because I knew things around me and my environment were not righteous. I knew, because it was encoded on me, and I understand that now. But throughout the years when I was younger, I was like, why do I feel like this? What is this? I don't know. That's how I felt. And it's like, now that I know, it makes it easier for me to move now, because I understand what the move is about. I understand what the feeling is. I understand where the passion comes from. Now I get it. I'm like, oh, that's just me. Oh, that's normal to just be me. And then that's when I think self-acceptance really hit at that point, when I accepted the fact that it is necessary to allow your passion to speak with you, or your passion to motivate you, encourage you to move into certain directions. Okay. So I feel like this is like the overall of the message. The fact that we have the ability to bend the bar. And I feel like that's why Spirit just showed me a bar straight levitating, you know, and then just being bent with nobody around it though. And I feel like that says a lot, because it allows the change to be universal, instead of pinpointing one person to it. It's like when I thought about that, then they gave me the muscle man, you know. When I thought about, okay, we're the person who's bending the bar, then they put the man there with the muscles, like. Then I was like, okay. But being that initially there was no person, it was just energy, was moving energy. You know, it's like the atoms were working together to move the atoms that made up the bar. And that just, it's like a message within a message. That energetically, we can bend the bar together, you know. That's what it made me think about. It made me think about collective energy, collective frequency, and how powerful that is. And then having understanding about what the goal is, because remember how I just told you that I always had this urgency to change things from when I was a little girl, but I didn't know why. And me not understanding why really bothered me, because it didn't make sense to me at that time until it did. And then when it finally made sense, I'm like, oh, I get it now. That's just because that's what I'm supposed to do. It's on my heart. It's written on me. It's written on my psyche. It's a part of me. For me to be thinking like that at such a young age, just like the story I told you about from my younger years, where it came back as a nostalgic moment when I had a big fish tank in my living room, and I used to watch the fish swim and think about how they're not supposed to be in there. They're supposed to be in an open space to be free. And I used to feel bad for them. And then in my dreams, I basically set the fish free. Some of them survived and some of them didn't. And I feel like that is symbolic as well. Because many people give up. I think that's what that part is about. When it comes to some of the fish surviving and some of them not surviving. Some people give up. Many people give up right before they actually win. You know, right before they actually see the progress that they've been working towards, they give up. And people tend to have trouble with the consistency within the process and just trusting the process and allowing things to unfold as they should. You know, people tend to give up on themselves very fast. Instead of, it's like, I found myself in that mode at one point when I was trying to complete my coursework and I just wanted to be done at one point. And I found myself like thinking about the time. I was like, oh my goodness. I have a whole year left. I remember that moment. I was like, I have a whole year left. And I was taking a test that was like 4 hours long. And I was like, oh no. I had that moment. And then I had to like, in that moment, I had to collect myself. And I said, stop looking at the time. It was my higher self talking to me. What are you doing? Stop. Why are you looking at that time? That's not even real. Why just enjoy the journey and stop trying to hurry up and get to the end result because you're going to miss the best part. And then I said, you know what, self, you're right. That's the God in me talking. You know what, self, you are absolutely right. Because then I had to change my perspective and say, you know, remember that you enjoy learning. You actually like that. Remember to remind myself. And then from that point on, I never felt that way again. I never felt like that I never felt the need to look at the time. And I allowed myself to actually appreciate the experience. I allowed myself to do that. And that changed my way of viewing my own circumstances. Because in order for me to reach the goal that I have set for myself, I must continue on. And that's another thing I had to remind myself. Because many times in life, I feel that you need to start making promises to yourself. Loyalty to self. Being loyal to yourself. If you decide to think that way, you'll get so much accomplished. Especially when you have, like, what is your motivation? When you know what you're motivated by. And you understand what you're doing this task for. Like, what is the purpose of it? When you give purpose to a thing, it changes everything. It changes your outlook. It changes your mindset when it comes to continuing to move forward. I just got lightheaded a little bit. What was that? What was on the left side? I don't know. I'm not sure what that was about. I just realized that, you know, I've woken up, but I didn't eat or drink anything yet. Maybe I need some water. But anyway, make promises to yourself. I heard that song. So I never make a promise that I can't keep. That ain't me. That's Cisco. Drew Hill. Okay. I never make a promise that I can't keep. When you make a promise to yourself, you will see progress. But you have to keep your promise, though. And then it helps you to stay. I feel like being loyal to yourself like that and having a sense of integrity for self, you move like that with other people too. You know, you can really tell how people feel about themselves by how they treat others. That's like tell all. How people treat others tells you how they treat themselves. Have you ever heard that saying? Is it a saying like something like, you can tell how someone feels about themselves based on how they treat their spouse? Something like that. It's not the exact wording, but it doesn't need to be. It's just the point of the matter, right? But I believe that's true. It makes sense to me. It just does. When you love yourself like that, you'll have no problem loving others, you know? And if you don't have any fear inside of you, you don't have any problem loving your brother and sister on earth, knowing that we share this space together. So we are brothers and sisters regardless of, you know, what we see in our like eyes, our physical eyes. It's about that soul. I'm always going to say that because it's true. What's your soul talking about? What did your soul say? What's your soul say? That's where the truth resides. In the soul. The truth of a person. Like, what matters to them. Or if anything matters at all. Some people walk aimless, not caring about anything ever. That's very empty. That's a very empty life, I think. Because we're meant to live, so if you don't care about anything, there's much that you're not going to do. But you shouldn't care about everything at the same time. That's another aspect of it. Some things aren't worth caring about. So then that's when discernment comes in and you're like, okay, this matters to me, that doesn't, break it down. It's the breakdown. Break now. Instead of making me down. Okay. Let's see where else we go in here with this one. It's really about that, the idea, not even the idea, but the fact that we can move around energy. We are all Reiki healers. I mean, not Reiki healers, but we all use Reiki. What is the definition of Reiki? This is about energy, but it's like they're saying some people move energy to make things bad. And some people move energy to make things good. Which side you on? A healing technique based on the principle that, wait, I gotta open it and make it bigger. The healing technique based on the principle that the therapist can challenge energy into the patient by means of touch to activate the natural healing processes of the patient's body and restore physical and emotional well-being. What is the opposite of Reiki or Reiki? Synonym, antonym. I see something that says pranic healing, and it is considered the Reiki's opposite, or Reiki. I think it's Reiki. I don't know why I keep saying Reiki. Pranic healing is more technique driven, with practitioners following a set of structured protocol to scan, cleanse, and energize specific areas of the body. So it's like you can feel things. There's something wrong here. Let me fix it for you. So we literally have the ability to change energy. We can cleanse it. We can heal it. We even have the ability to make things go left. It all depends on where someone's intentions lie. Make promises to yourself so that you could change things the way you want them to be changed. Make sure they're for the better. We have enough of the worst. Let's bring the better about so everyone can feel better about their life and well-being, and the well-being not only of yourself but your family and those of the future, you know. When you start thinking about legacy, you start thinking about leaving things behind for those who are coming, for those of the future, those who are not here yet, but they're going to need direction. Like, you know, they're going, how else will it be? How else will all the hard work that you put in be maintained? You know? It makes me think about individuals that have built up, you know, an empire, right? And they put so much work into it. You know, people that do that, they put so much into it. It's like blood, sweat, and tears, like body, soul, psyche, everything is in there. And it's so hard. It's so much work. But they love it. But then it's rough. It's tough. It's not easy. But think about all of that energy that's put into something that is meant to be beautiful, not only for that person and their family, but it actually extends out to society and the people that aren't even born yet. They're not even in this dimension yet, but they're coming. And they're going to need this information. So it's like leaving what you have found on your journey for them is the most beautiful gift, because it is a gift of life. Like, we have the ability to leave gifts of life for those who seek. Not everyone is going to seek the gifts of life to understand, because there are gifts here. It's not all bad, but if you don't want to know, you won't, and you'll live in misery. That's why heaven on earth is in the mind, and it is also linked to the knowledge that you have within you. When you have knowledge within you, you have understanding. You know, that wisdom, it is long lasting, and I heard it has a tendency to make sense for those who are ready to hear it, which is true, because things that are wise, they're abstract, and individuals that don't think on such a wave, on such a frequency, it'll be hard for them to understand the concept of the wisdom. But someone who has a desire to learn, even if they don't understand it the first time they read it, eventually they will, because their mind begins to expand and be able to accept the challenge to analyze something. A lot of times people don't even want to accept the challenge to analyze a thought. It's not even like a challenge where you got to put muscle in it. Well, the only muscle is your brain. Our brain is a muscle. You know, but and I mean, you can't get tired from using your brain muscle. And I know that. you can. Sometimes your brain needs to take a rest. But yeah, I really feel like that this is the totality of this message. It's just really about expressing how much we can change things and how much power we have together when we understand the purpose and the benefit of the shared goal to share the information you know. You know, that's why writing books is really beneficial, because it's coming directly from your heart space. When you write, well, that's another thing I just heard. You have to know yourself to write. You have to know yourself to write a book. Because when you know yourself and you understand the experiences that you have had in your past and present, you'll be able to articulate what it is that you found on this journey. Now, if you don't know yourself, it'll be hard for you to articulate. If you're still in that spot where it's gonna be like, where you're like thinking, why did that happen to me? It's gonna be hard for you because you don't have. It's hard for you to create the context of what you're trying to express. And I think that needs to be sorted out, because so many people need help with that brain muscle to be able to understand their circumstances so that they can actually speak freely about it. That is a part of so many people that is locked. It's like there needs to be an unlocking of thinking. The only way to unlock that, though, is through learning. That's the only way. How else will it work? It has to be through that. Because that's when you work that muscle, that brain muscle. It just needs to be worked. That's all. It has to be worked and challenged, and you need people to ask you questions that you might not know the answer to, but you still try to answer it and see if it makes sense to you after you hear yourself and what you just said. And then it gives you the ability to work through the thought, you know. Start asking yourself questions about things, you know. Ask yourself questions about what you see around you, and then try to come up with an answer. That's also, I feel like, a good exercise. But yeah, just know that the passion that you have inside of you, it's not really meant to just sit there and you do nothing with it. It's meant to be I heard a healthy challenge. The ability to not know how you're going to do something, but keep taking the steps to get it done, regardless of if you know because you're not going to know what the outcome is going to be. The only thing you could do is be ready to take on the challenge and do your best with what you have. And it's just one of those things where when you believe something enough, the puzzle pieces that you need to come together in order for you to accomplish that goal, they'll happen, but the only thing you need to do is move. You know, a lot of times we want to know everything before we should, and then that stops us from being able to appreciate that journey. You know, like I told you how I was worried about the time, and then I was like, wait, girl, stop looking at that. That doesn't even matter. You know, because once you get to a certain point, it gets boring, because it's like, okay, now what? So appreciate that journey. Have fun in it. Regardless of how challenging, find a way to make it fun for yourself. You know, if you like whatever you like about it, hone in on that. And don't think about the things that bring you down and make you feel like you don't want to do it anymore. Don't focus on that. Focus on the aspects of it that excite you and that helps you to move when you might not want to, or you might trick yourself into not wanting to because you don't want to do that thing right there in that one moment. And in that one moment, you can really derail yourself by mistake from like psyching yourself out, making yourself, sometimes people come up with all the reasons why they can't do something instead of all the reasons why they can. See, that's the thing. That's what needs to be changed as well. So if you find yourself thinking like that and you like, I can't, switch that. Stop yourself. Change it to I can. Okay? I can't is unacceptable. Don't even say it. I can and I will. Alright? Alright. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your presence. And I love you all very much. I'll see you in the next video.